Today, we're sharing an incredible and heartwarming story of hope, kindness, and second chances. It's a tale of a homeless man who returns a lost phone to its millionaire owner, and in return, his life changes forever. Grab a seat, get cozy, and prepare to be inspired. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment below telling us where you're watching from. We'd love to hear your thoughts on this touching story. Let's dive in. In the heart of downtown Chicago, beneath the towering skyscrapers and the bustling streets, there lived a man named Sam. He was homeless, like many others in the city. But there was something different about Sam, something that made him stand out from the rest. He wasn't bitter or angry at the world for his misfortune. Instead, he carried a sense of quiet dignity, despite the ragged clothes on his back and the layers of dirt that clung to his skin. His days were spent wandering the streets, searching for a place to rest, and, if he was lucky, a bite to eat. Sam had been living on the streets for nearly 5 years. He had a small patch of sidewalk near a cafe he frequented just off Michigan Avenue. The smell of freshly brewed coffee and the sound of laughter from the patrons inside the cafe gave him a bittersweet sense of longing. He often wondered what it would be like to sit inside, to have a warm meal and a conversation with someone who didn't look at him like he was invisible. On this particular morning, the sun was just beginning to rise, casting a soft golden hue over the city. Sam shuffled along the sidewalk, his shoes worn down to the soles, his mind on the usual thoughts: where to sleep, where to find food. He passed the cafe as he always did, but today, something caught his eye. A sleek black phone lay on the ground in front of him. It wasn't like the cheap, cracked phones that most people discarded. This one was brand new, its screen still gleaming in the morning light. Without hesitation, Sam picked it up. His heart raced, not out of excitement, but out of concern. He knew that losing a phone in a city like Chicago could be a nightmare. The phone could have belonged to anyone: a tourist, a business person, maybe even a millionaire. Sam's eyes flicked around, searching for someone who might have dropped it. But the street was empty. The phone was locked, of course. He didn't know who it belonged to, but he knew it wasn't his. It wasn't just the price of the phone that made him hesitate. It was the weight of responsibility that came with finding something that didn't belong to him. He had nothing to offer in terms of wealth or status, but he had his honor. And his honor told him to do the right thing. He walked over to the nearest bench and sat down. For a long moment, Sam just stared at the phone in his hands. He wasn't sure what to do. Part of him wanted to turn it on, see who it belonged to, maybe even find a way to contact the owner. But another part of him feared that if he did that, he would be invading someone's privacy. As he sat there, lost in his thoughts, a man walked by. He was dressed in a sharp suit, his shoes polished to perfection. He looked like the kind of man who had everything: wealth, success, the kind of life Sam could only dream of. The man's eyes met Sam's for a brief moment, but instead of looking away, he paused. "Is that your phone?" the man asked, his voice smooth but with a note of curiosity. Sam looked up at him, startled. He hadn't expected anyone to approach him. "No, sir," Sam replied, his voice gravelly from lack of use. "I found it just a few minutes ago." The man's brow furrowed as he took a step closer. "You found it?" he repeated, his voice soft with disbelief. "How long have you been sitting here?" "A while," Sam answered, still holding the phone in his hands. "I don't know who it belongs to, but I'm not keeping it. I just wanted to make sure I did the right thing." The man studied Sam for a moment, his eyes narrowing slightly. Sam had seen that look before. The skepticism, the uncertainty. People who lived in this city, in this world, didn't often believe in the goodness of others, especially not someone who had nothing. But then, something surprising happened. The man reached into his pocket and pulled out a business card. "I'm James Bennett," he said, his voice softer now, almost apologetic. "I work at Bennett Enterprises. If you find out who this phone belongs to, please let me know. I'm happy to reward you for your honesty." Sam's heart sank as he took the card. He didn't want a reward. He just wanted to do the right thing. But before he could say anything, James had already turned and walked away, his footsteps echoing down the sidewalk. Sam looked at the business card in his hand. James Bennett. The name didn't mean anything to him, but the gesture did. It was rare for someone to show kindness to a homeless man, especially in a city like Chicago, where people were often too busy to notice the struggles of others. Still, Sam wasn't interested in rewards. He had more important things to worry about, like finding the phone's owner. He stood up and began to walk, holding the phone tightly in his hand. He wasn't sure what would come of this, but one thing was clear. He wasn't going to let the phone go until he knew it was safe in the hands of the person who had lost it. Little did Sam know, this simple act of kindness would change his life forever. The following days were a blur for Sam. He kept the phone close to him, unwilling to let it out of his sight. He knew that the longer he held on to it, the more difficult it would become to track down its rightful owner. But he couldn't shake the feeling that the phone had been meant for him to find. It felt like a sign, as if the universe was giving him a chance to prove that he wasn't just another forgotten soul, in a city that rarely paused to look at people like him. Sam's routine didn't change much. He spent his days wandering the streets of Chicago, trying to scrounge up enough change for a cup of coffee or a small meal. At night, he'd return to his makeshift home, a cardboard box tucked between two buildings near the train station. It wasn't much, but it was his, and now, with the phone resting in his jacket pocket, it felt like he had something of value, something to protect. He thought about James Bennett every now and then. The man had been kind, at least in that brief exchange, and Sam couldn't help but wonder what kind of life he led. The business card that James had given him was now worn, the edges frayed from being carried around in Sam's pocket for days. He hadn't called the number, not yet, but it lingered in his mind, like an unanswered question. One evening, as Sam sat on his usual bench, his stomach growling with hunger, the phone buzzed in his pocket. He froze, his heart racing as he fumbled to pull it out. He had expected some kind of notification, or maybe a voicemail, but what he saw instead made his breath catch in his throat. The screen lit up with a name: James Bennett. For a moment, Sam couldn't move. He had thought about this moment, the moment when the phone's owner would finally call, but he hadn't expected it to come so suddenly, so directly. His hands shook as he swiped to answer the call, his heart pounding in his chest. "Hello?" Sam said, his voice thick with uncertainty. "Sam?" The voice on the other end was calm, yet there was a sense of urgency behind it. "This is James Bennett. I wanted to thank you again for returning my phone. I've been trying to reach you. I know you must have a lot of questions. Sam felt his throat tighten. I didn't know if I should call you, sir. I didn't want to impose. No, no, James interjected, his voice warm and reassuring. I should be the one thanking you. Most people would have kept the phone or sold it. But you did the right thing. And I admire that. I wanted to make sure I reached out personally to express my gratitude. Sam let out a breath, the tension in his shoulders slowly easing. It's nothing. I just didn't feel right keeping something that didn't belong to me. There was a pause on the other end of the line, and then James spoke again, his voice softer now. I know you must be struggling, Sam. I can tell from the way you spoke, from the honesty in your voice. I've been in your shoes before, more than once. Life has a way of knocking us down, doesn't it? Sam was taken aback. You've been homeless? I have, James replied, his tone heavy with experience. But I got lucky. I made it out. And now I'm in a position where I can help. I've been looking for someone like you. Someone with integrity. Someone who still believes in doing the right thing, no matter how hard life gets. Sam's heart skipped a beat. He wasn't sure where this conversation was heading, but it felt like something important was happening. What do you mean? Sam asked, his voice almost a whisper. I'm offering you a job, Sam, James said, his words coming out quickly, as if he had rehearsed them 1,000 times. I own a company, Bennett Enterprises. It's not a huge corporation, but it's growing. And I need someone like you to help with some of the work. It's not glamorous, but it's honest work. I'm willing to offer you a chance, Sam. A fresh start. Sam's mind reeled. He could hardly believe what he was hearing. A job? A chance to work? To have a real life again? He had always dreamed of getting out of the streets, but he had never imagined it would come like this, through the simple act of returning a lost phone. But why me? Sam asked, still trying to make sense of it all. Why would you offer a job to someone like me? I'm just a homeless man. James's voice was firm but kind. Because I see something in you, Sam. I see honesty. I see a man who's willing to do the right thing, even when no one's watching. That's rare, especially in this city. I'm offering you an opportunity to rebuild your life, to work hard, and make something of yourself. All you need to do is say yes. Sam's thoughts raced. He had always believed that the world was cruel, that kindness was something reserved for the privileged, for people who had it all. But here, in this moment, everything was different. James didn't see him as just another homeless person. He saw potential, something Sam hadn't felt in years. I don't know what to say, Sam replied, his voice shaky with emotion. I've never had anyone offer me something like this before. You don't have to say anything right now, James said gently. Take some time to think about it. But just know that the offer is real. I'll even help you with housing, Sam. A safe place to stay until you get on your feet. I'll give you a home. Sam could feel the weight of those words settle deep into his chest. A home. It had been so long since he had thought about the idea of a place to call his own. His eyes welled up with tears, but he fought them back, not wanting to break down on the phone. Thank you, was all Sam could manage to say. His voice cracked with gratitude. Thank you so much. I'll send you the details, James said. We'll take it one step at a time. You're not alone in this anymore, Sam. You've got a second chance. As the call ended, Sam sat on the bench, his mind reeling. He looked at the phone in his hands, the device that had started it all. A simple phone, a simple act of kindness, had changed the course of his life. For the first time in years, Sam felt a spark of hope deep inside him. Maybe, just maybe, life had more in store for him than he had ever imagined. The following morning, as Sam woke up to the cold, harsh reality of the world around him, he couldn't shake the feeling that everything had changed. The city of Chicago, with its towering buildings and bustling streets, felt different somehow. Less overwhelming, less hostile. He had a new sense of purpose now, something that had been missing for so long. He sat up from his makeshift bed, a pile of old newspapers and cardboard tucked into the corner of an alley behind a restaurant, and rubbed his eyes. The sun was just beginning to rise, casting a soft light over the streets. The usual sounds of car engines and people talking filled the air. But today, everything felt more distant, like he was hearing it all from behind a veil. He reached into his pocket and pulled out the business card that James Bennett had given him. The edges were still worn from being carried around, but today it felt like a lifeline, a symbol of hope in a world that had often been indifferent to his suffering. Sam stared at the name printed on the card, James Bennett, Bennett Enterprises. He had been offered a chance, a real, honest chance, and he couldn't let it slip away. For a moment, doubt crept into his mind. What if he wasn't good enough? What if he failed? What if the world was just setting him up for disappointment again? But then, Sam remembered James's words. "I see something in you." Those words echoed in his mind, pushing the doubts aside. He wasn't just a homeless man anymore. He was someone who had been seen, who had been given an opportunity to change his life. Sam stood up and shook the dirt from his clothes as best as he could. His shoes were worn and battered, his jacket faded from years of use. He didn't have much, but he had his determination. He made his way to the cafe he passed every day, the one where he had found the phone. It wasn't much, but it was a place he could sit and think, and maybe, just maybe, make a plan for the future. As he entered the cafe, the warm scent of freshly brewed coffee filled his senses. The barista behind the counter greeted him with a smile, but Sam could see the way her eyes flickered downward, taking in his tattered appearance. He didn't mind. He was used to that by now. People tended to see only the surface, what was visible. They didn't know the story behind the man sitting before them. "Can I get you something?" the barista asked, her tone polite but distant. Sam hesitated. "Just a coffee, please. Black." She nodded, and Sam took a seat by the window. He stared out at the busy street, watching people rush by, lost in their own lives. The city was always moving, always changing, while he had been stuck, frozen in place. But not anymore. He had a chance now, and he wasn't going to let it go to waste. His phone buzzed, interrupting his thoughts. It was a text message from James. "Sam, I wanted to check in. Have you had a chance to think about my offer? Let me know if you're ready to talk. I'm here for you." Sam's heart raced as he read the message. He wasn't sure what to say. He had so many questions, so many fears. But more than anything, he had this overwhelming feeling of gratitude. This man, this stranger, was offering him a way out of the darkness. He couldn't turn his back on that. He quickly typed a response. "I'm ready. I want to take the job, and I want to start fresh." It only took a few moments for James to reply. "Great. I'll have my assistant send over the details. We can meet later today, if that works for you. I'll explain everything." Sam stared at the screen, his fingers trembling as he set the phone down on the table. He had made the decision. He wasn't going to let fear hold him back anymore. This was his chance to prove that he was more than just a homeless man. He was a person who could make a difference, who could change his life if given the right opportunity. Later that afternoon, Sam found himself standing outside a sleek office building in the heart of the city. It was the kind of building that made him feel small, its glass exterior reflecting the sky like a mirror, its polished steel doors sliding open as people in expensive suits walked in and out. He had never been in a place like this before. This wasn't the world he knew. This was a world of success, of ambition, of possibilities. Sam stood there for a moment, feeling a wave of anxiety wash over him. What was he doing here? He wasn't supposed to be in a place like this. He was supposed to be on the streets, forgotten by the world. But then he remembered James's voice. "You're not alone anymore, Sam." He took a deep breath and stepped inside. The receptionist greeted him with a smile, and after a brief exchange, Sam was escorted to a large conference room where James was waiting for him. The moment Sam walked in, James stood up, his face lighting up with a warm smile. "Sam, it's good to see you," James said, extending his hand. Sam shook it firmly, feeling the man's strong grip. There was no judgment in his eyes, no pity, just a genuine sense of kindness and respect. "Thank you for this," Sam said, his voice thick with emotion. I can't believe this is happening." James nodded, his expression serious but understanding. "I know it's a lot to take in, but I believe in second chances. I've been where you are, Sam. I know what it's like to feel invisible, to feel like the world has forgotten you. But I'm giving you the opportunity to make something of yourself. I just need you to trust me." Sam swallowed hard, his throat tight with gratitude. "I trust you, James, more than you know." James smiled. "Good. Now, let's talk about the next steps." For the next hour, they discussed the job, what it would entail, what Sam would need to do, and the kind of work environment he would be stepping into. It wasn't glamorous work, but it was real. James offered him a position at Bennett Enterprises as a junior office assistant. It wasn't the highest position, but it was a start. And for someone like Sam, that was all he needed, a chance. After the meeting, James drove Sam to a modest apartment in a quiet neighborhood. It wasn't much, but it was clean and safe. It had a bed, a bathroom, and a kitchen. It was a home. "This is yours, Sam," James said, handing him the keys. "No more sleeping on the streets. You've got a roof over your head now." Sam stood in the doorway, his heart racing. He couldn't believe it. He had a home. A real home. As he stepped inside, he took a deep breath. The smell of fresh paint and clean sheets filled his nose. It was overwhelming, but in the best way possible. He felt like he had stepped into a new life, a life he never thought he would have, a life filled with hope, with possibilities. "Thank you," Sam whispered, his voice thick with emotion. "Thank you for believing in me." James clapped him on the back, a proud smile on his face. "You earned it, Sam. You just needed someone to believe in you. Now, it's time to believe in yourself." And with that, Sam knew his life had changed forever. The road ahead would be hard, but for the first time in a long time, Sam felt ready to face whatever came his way. He had been given a second chance, and he wasn't going to waste it. Thank you for watching.